The autumn wind is a league, holding the treasures ye may seek. Have some fun and play along, whether for a day or for a week. Seek advice from a sage, or battle straight up. Square off in a cage, or joust without a cup. It's a FanDuel. Is it your favorite you take, or make the logical play? Will your foes stand before you and quiver and quake, as you will be crowned prince for a day? The autumn wind may be a casual player, FanDueling just to talk trash. But there will be those that will play, that will be able to say, I've got my hands on some cold, hard cash.
Hello and welcome to the Box Scores FanDuel Draft Day. I'm Brock here in Los Angeles from our very own Red Zone set, joined by the Danettes in Milford this week, trying to see if a little home cooking will enhance their fantasy mojo. Now, Seton, you're looking to bounce back after a rough couple of weeks. Do you think the change of scenery is going to help you?
No, I don't think the change of scenery really has anything to do with it, because I pick my team from the same place every time. So I think that, I started out stronger, surprisingly strong, I guess, although I really just got lucky for a couple of weeks. This is actually where I expected myself to be. So I'm good. I came in first once, or maybe twice, I don't even remember. I'm good with that. The rest of the season, it doesn't matter.
Well, it doesn't matter where you're at, and sometimes a change of scenery knocks some people off their stance, as it were. And this morning, I think it maybe knocked Fritzy off his the lighting off its base as he came in there a little rattled, and I think maybe he's trying to sort of get you guys off your stance by breaking glasses. What went on here, Fritz?
I don't know. I guess I got thrown off. Normally we do our FanDuel show in the New York City man cave, and I was just kind of getting my bearings down and trying to get comfortable doing the special FanDuel edition at our Milford man cave.
What happened? You knocked on a light?
Yeah, I was sitting back. I was getting out of my seat, and this light is set up fairly close to the desk. But I'm not going to blame the where it was set up. This is where it needs to be. But
now, you didn't notice that was there?
I noticed it was there, but I guess I didn't realize that the legs or the tripod leg was so close to the wheel of my chair, and I just totally took
Only
it out.
had some type of like beacon or something to warn you that, hey, there's
Like a big bright light.
Like a big bright light.
What if they put a light on top of the light to let you know there's a light there?
That would have been helpful. But yeah, I got up and I'm usually oblivious anyway, but I was particularly clueless as to my surroundings, and just I'm glad it didn't shatter altogether where we can still do today's fine program.
That's all right. Unfortunately, no one got hurt. All right, well, let's take a look at our official standings from Week 7. Paul Papps was the big winner again in Week 7, making that back-to-back #1 finishes. His lineup put up a season high in the man cave with over 171 points. McLovin came in second, followed by Fritzy, with Dan and Seton coming in last in the man cave. Paulie, you've been using various strategies throughout the season. Are you going to shake it up again this week, or if it ain't broke, don't fix it?
Well, I'm going lately with the Ebby Calvin Nuke Lelouch strategy. Don't think, just pick. The other thing I'm making sure I do is I spend all my money, because it is an odds game. There is odds involved. You know, it's like you don't debunk. You're not really supposed to debunk odds. And over the long term, so I make sure every week I have zero money left.
Were you not spending your money early in the season?
I never gave it a thought about it. So a couple times I had like $200 left over, $300 left over.
That bothered me too. If you have like a little money left over, like you feel like you should really spend every dollar.
And I don't know if there's a study that says it's better or worse to do that. I would assume it's better to spend all your money. So I picked my team this week, and just like last week, in under 2 minutes.
All right. Well, Week 7 brought victory to some and disappointment to others. Let's find out the players who helped you take home the gold. I'll toss it out to the guys in Milford. Paulie, start us off with that finger-licking good picking.
You know, if you had the camera on about 12 minutes ago, you'd have seen me doing the same thing with another plate of wings. Todd Gurley, I think everybody's riding him, and I think it's a good move. Without analyzing it too much, Todd Gurley, 128, 2 touchdowns. I'd be surprised if he doesn't get 100 and a touchdown every week because of the structure of their team, McLovin. You know, he's got to get the ball.
They're classic, Tony Dorsett, 80s primary running back, ram it down his
It would
low
have
guy.
to be something weird, like they were down 21-0 at half for him to not get the ball.
But it's also a guy I bet you a lot of us have Gurley. We're going to ride. It's a guy you ride him until he falls.
I don't want to give out a hint, but I got Gurley again this week.
Yeah.
T.Y. Hilton, this is the T.Y. Hilton you expected. 150 yards, 2 touchdowns. And another great week for T.Y. He started slow, had injuries in September, doing great. He's a guy I would ride as well. Now, here's a guy who had a great weekend. Here's a guy.
Here's a guy.
Ryan Tannehill. When he gets the ball. 282 touchdowns, 282 yards, 4 touchdowns for Tannehill. I don't love him long term. He's one of those guys that I would actually go against this week because him having 2 huge days in a row isn't very likely. But last week he crushed your Texans. Over to Fritzy for his busts, plural of the week.
So we all had high hopes for Larry Fitzgerald to keep putting up big numbers this week. Unfortunately, not the case. He finished with only 3 catches, 39 yards, couldn't get into the end zone, modest 5.4 fantasy points. Larry Fitzgerald, a disappointing bust. If that's not busty enough, then look no further than LeGarrette Blount, who was on my team. I don't think I've ever picked someone that had negative for a total, something less than 0. Couldn't get anything going. 3 carries, -3 yards. I didn't even realize you can finish with negative fantasy points, but he got you a -0.3. So it was a very, very poor pick by me, and certainly fitting of calling that the second of 2 busts.
That'd be like a concave bust. It actually is not flat.
Yeah.
It's actually
it's actually
concave.
less.
It was. I was horrified to see that I had somebody that had a negative next to their number on my roster. It was quite embarrassing. I don't know how I finished in the middle of the pack with a negative running back. And now, we'll pass it over to Seton to find out which rock star broke through in Week 7.
Dramatic pause.
How about that?
I'll tell you what, it took 7 weeks, but the Texans finally figured it out. They finally figured it out. Who needs DeAndre Hopkins when you got a guy like Nate Washington on your squad, huh? 9 for 16, 127 yards, 2 touchdowns. Granted, that was all in garbage time and really did nothing since they got absolutely crushed. But he seems to be the real deal. Well, he was for one day. Who knows? He'll probably never see the ball again.
Big
but
Nate.
he was awesome this last week. And now, Andrew, did someone break a system today? Perhaps a quarterback?
How you like them apples? Kirk Cousins, is that what he said? I can't remember.
How about them?
I got a number.
Yeah, system broke, getting killed early in the game, then he ran in a touchdown, then the floodgates opened, the yards came in, the touchdowns, RG3 who? Kirk Cousins is my system-breaking quarterback.
Levin, wouldn't you bet your life savings that Kirk Cousins has a 3-interception performance this weekend based on him having a great performance the week before? Now,
Interesting.
this week he was great. This past week he was great, but looking forward.
He's trending upwards, and he sang Friday on the Dan Patrick Show, so I'm going to give him the benefit of the doubt.
All right, solid breakdown there from the guys. Sorry about that LeGarrette Blount pickup there, Fritzy. Damn those Patriots. All right, don't go away. We're going to get you ready for Week 8. It's time to reveal some lineups. And remember, in every fantasy truck draft, the Ram 1500 Eco Diesel is the #1 and only pick. This bad boy can climb a hill, haul a trailer, and is good for at least 350 yards and 4 touchdowns every Sunday. Get more facts at ramtrucks.com. Guts, glory, Ram.
They announced it like Fridays, though. And then John Brown.
Welcome back to the Box Scores FanDuel Draft Day. It is time to get ready for Week 8. But first, let's reveal the Danettes challenge for this week. McLovin, break it down.
Okay, you have to have somebody who was an in-studio guest for the Dan Patrick Show, not on the phone. And it's actually a ton of choices. We've had a lot of big playmakers, a lot of big quarterbacks. And you can even go defense with a guy like J.J. Watt or Clay Matthews.
All right, well, allow me to throw another one in the hat, if you will. You guys have to select a defense that features a player who's taken a shot at Paulie on the show. Paulie, can you remember all of the players who have knocked you senseless over the years?
Well, I guess if Siragusa, you go Ravens. He hit Seton as well.
Kuechly, you could take the Panthers.
Kuechly, you got. Starting to lose it up
Former
here.
player, but Giants D, if you want to go straight.
Strahan, you have Green Bay Packers with Clay Matthews.
Yeah.
A few guys have hit me off air, but I don't want to talk about that.
Now it's not the time. Okay, all right, it's time to see if his lineup can get him out of the cellar. Seton, head on over to the screen and present your lineup, please.
Well, I'm not going to lie to you. I don't feel very good about this. This might be my worst lineup ever, and I wouldn't be surprised if I finished. If there's 2,000 people in this, I might be very, dead last. I've got Eli Manning. Saints give up a lot of big points, and I like Eli to bounce back from a pretty poor fantasy performance the last couple of games. Danny Woodhead, dude gets a ton of passes.
You're back on the Woodhead
ton
train?
of catches, yep. He's pretty much the most solid go-to guy that I have. We've got Justin Forsett. Had a pair of touchdowns the last couple of games, and got a good matchup at home against the Chargers. Eric Decker, I'm kind of questioning this one since he's got a bad knee. Julio Jones, dude is a stud, home against the Bucs. I like that. Keenan Allen, my all-hurt team, he's got a bad hip, but he could go off since Baltimore's terrible at defending the pass. I got Greg Olsen. I've taken him a few times, and I've whiffed every time that I've taken him. But I feel like at some point, I'm gonna hit with him, and I think it's gonna be this week. And I've got Justin Tucker of the Rams. He was the best kicker that I had the money for, and I've got the Panthers defense. They've been pretty dominant thus far.
Seton, should we talk about the issue of the in-studio guest situation?
What do you probably have a concussion, Paul? You might not remember the in-studio guest who was on here.
At first I was gonna try to sneak by Eli Manning, being like, he must have been here one time, but we had Kuechly, Carolina Panthers.
Snuck it in.
Booyah!
You know what? You have some backup. You might be able to shoehorn in. Eli Manning was an in-studio guest in 2003 on the old version of the Dan Patrick Show.
Yep.
You might have been able
Because
to.
it's still the Dan Patrick Show.
You could have grandfathered that in.
Right,
Keeper covers it.
On to the man who's king of being in the middle of the road, Todd Fritz. Who are you taking this week?
Watch out for the light.
Yeah, please be
Look out for
careful.
the light, is right. Okay. I actually went with a couple of guys that were in studio guests. I doubled up. I got Drew Brees. I think he's going to have a big game against the Giants. Matt Forte, I think he'll do very well against the Vikings. Hadn't played Devontae Freeman too much, and now he's over $9,000. That's pretty expensive, but I'm hoping this is the right week to get him in the mix. Went Martavis Bryant. I wasn't sure about him. I still have big question marks, but Roethlisberger, hopefully he's back in business and can get some passes to Bryant, ideally in the end zone. James Jones, this was a tough pick for me.
Wow.
I don't like going with anybody that's playing the Broncos, but I just had a feeling about Jones. But
Jim Jones.
It's going to be very hard to root for James Jones at Mile High. On behalf of Patrick Seton O'Connor, I went Tavon Austin. Hope he has a big week for us, for your Mountaineers. And also went Greg Olsen at tight end. Hadn't been picking him too much, but had enough money this week to work in Greg Olsen. Can't stand the Raiders, but went Sebastian Janikowski for my kicker, and then I went with the Rams defense. I've been trying to do something where I've got 9 different games represented, but as you can see, 49ers Rams, I ended up doubling up there. Hopefully Austin will be big, and hoping the Rams defense will do big things at home against the San Francisco 49ers.
All right, Fritzy, is there any concern over going so heavy on running backs this week? I know you're a fan of the sure thing, but that's $17,300 on 2 players. I mean, that's about half the bar tab at your bar mitzvah.
That's very true. I think I was so mortified and depressed by LeGarrette Blount, one of my busts of the week, giving me negative 0.3, that I was like, you know what? This week I'm just going to spend as much money as possible and go after guys like Freeman. So I'm hoping it's going to be worth the expense. But after what happened with LeGarrette Blount, I felt something was telling me I better spend more money on running.
That's the second wildest thing you've done in your life after the bench press spotting thing that you told us about the other day.
And taping the Heather Thomas poster to the wallpaper, knowing by the time when I take it off, I was going to rip the wallpaper.
Who's the wild man now?
Yeah, let me throw a net over that guy. All right, we've got 2 lineups all set. And remember, if you want to play 1 week fantasy football against Dan and the Danettes, just go to FanDuel.com/Patrick and enter the promo code Patrick for a 100% deposit match up to $200 on new accounts. $5 to enter, and winners get instant cash as soon as contest ends. That's FanDuel, the leader in one-day fantasy sports. Stick around, we're breaking down the lineups of the meanest and the smartest Danettes, or at least the one guy says he's the smartest. We're back here on the Box Scores FanDuel Draft Day. McLovin, you've notched your third straight second-place finish. Are you sick of being the bridesmaid and not the bride?
I don't know what's happening here. This is awful. I gotta admit, it's better than second to last, and it's certainly better than last. But I need to break through. I need to take some big risk and get to number one.
All right, let's find out if this group of guys can take McLovin back to the mountaintop. Andrew, your lineup, please.
Okay, Phillip Rivers, I think he's always good for garbage time points. They play Baltimore weak secondary, although Baltimore's secondary seemed to be figuring out some things last week. Todd Gurley, I am going to keep taking until he gets hurt. Le'Veon Bell, Steelers, he torched the Bengals last year. Now, I don't know who's playing quarterback because apparently Big Ben's knee has been swelling. That's what my inside sources tell me. So there's a little bit of concern there. John Brown, I actually had him last week. Then everyone knows he tweaked his hamstring in practice on Thursday. They listed him as doubtful that he played and was awesome. Steve Smith, you know what? I'll see the line, but like Steve Smith's a nice little player. I think I'm going to take some Steve Smith. Then Martavis Bryant, again, quarterback issue. Ben Watson, I really wanted him that Monday night or Sunday night that he went off, and I didn't have him, but I'm making it up. And this I regret. I realized after I picked him, Travis Coons, he hasn't missed a field.
I may have to check Fritzy's book, but who's been in studio?
Who is the in studio?
Oh, wait, and the Niners defense.
Right.
They were in, the entire defense was in the studio?
You know what? I've been booking this show for over 13 years, and we've all been together pretty much that entire time, and I can't think of any one of those guys being on set.
Steve Smith on the phone.
He's never
Many
been
times.
in the studio. I would have remembered meeting him.
I'm trying to, and anyone on the 49er defense.
Brock, we're going to have to go to you for a ruling. Is this lineup defunct? Is it null and void?
Okay, now hold on a second, though, because we've had other weeks in the past where people haven't followed the rule either.
Like me.
So I think, though,
get
that
a
Paulie's
pass?
right. I think from now on, if we do this, and this is you're going to submit your team, it's really like just a bunk list. It doesn't actually count.
After this?
I have to
you're
admit,
automatically in.
I have to
Did you
admit, I put together a
disqualify?
list of 35 people who'd been in the studio. It was a great list. I'm like, all these players are
didn't
great.
pick any
And
of
then
them.
I totally blanked, and I really wanted to take A.J. Green, who I thought was going to have a huge week this
So
week.
is this just a complete forfeit, or do you do minus 20? What's the number? What do you
It's a
subtract?
complete forfeit.
It just doesn't count
It
at
is?
all.
Absolutely. You come in last.
We won't even give them you start with like minus 15.
Brock, you're got the rule on this.
So wait, so does that mean that Paulie forfeited the 3 first weeks where
Did you file an official complaint?
No, because
Well, you know what?
Because I'm a team player.
We didn't have to do that because Paulie finished in last for pretty much all of those anyway. So
You honestly, look
he
at his
actually
lineup.
penalized
Dude,
himself in the crappy
I
team.
have a $4,000 defense. I'm not winning anyway.
Brock, it's your ruling.
All right, my
we have,
ruling
like,
is
Charles Haley in
to
studio? I'm trying to
table
help
the
you out with the
issue,
49ers
and we
defense.
will maybe make a decision 3 weeks from now. But for now,
With
McLovin,
authority.
perhaps you can change your lineup before we actually run this thing, because I mean you are the one that gives us the challenge every week. All right, so
No.
he was
Well,
in the
maybe we'll have
winners.
Martavis Bryant in studio within. Are we booking Martavis
game
Bryant
day.
in before game day?
Fly him in.
Hey, the week's not over, Brock.
Fly him into Connecticut.
Who knows? Maybe Todd Gurley will ramble on through the Milford
never know.
studio.
All right, we can only hope so. All right, on to the man who was in the winner's circle last week, and he's in the winner's circle again, Paul Pabst. Tell us who's going to make it 3 in a row.
Now, I picked Russell, quarterback of the Seahawks. I don't really think he's going to have a monster game, but that was just more of a good relations pick. Todd Gurley, ride him. Justin Forsett, affordable. That was the best guy I could afford at the time. Amari Cooper, this debunks my theory of going a good guy 2 weeks in a row, but I think he's healthy again, and he had a great week last weekend. Steve Smith, great locker room guy. Antonio Brown, the upside if Roethlisberger's back is what I'm looking at there. This guy plays for the Titans. I don't remember his first
that
name.
D stands for
Dante, Deloitte, and Touche. Robbie Gould, great guy. Now, you're probably thinking, hey, who's the in-studio guest? Robbie Gould was a guest on the box score.
No, I know. He was box score.
in
Whoa, this is a
Indianapolis.
Dan Patrick Show in studio
The
guest.
box score is
I'm not going to disqualify it if you're not going to
the
disqualify
box score is part of Dan Patrick Show Productions, if I could check my notes.
What do you think
And
about
then
that?
the New York Giants defense.
Strahan.
Oh man.
Former Giants defense.
yeah.
If you want to wink at Strahan.
No,
Let's see.
Have we had JPP in?
I'm more comfortable winking saying Strahan was part of like a giant defense.
First of all-
than saying
First of all,
Robbie Gould
there's
counts
at
as a
least like
box
Robbie
score.
Gould was at least
Okay,
in some way
okay.
connected to the show. You just completely ignored it altogether.
Wait, and you're telling me Steve Smith has no connection?
Here's
to
a
the show?
yes/no question. Has Robbie Gould ever been on the Dan Patrick Show set in his life?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
I didn't hear. What's the answer?
He's looking at his roster.
Well, John Brown was in Arizona at the Super Bowl
He does.
set.
He is a resident.
He was in Arizona. He was in the city.
By the set,
Close
we didn't
enough.
even know.
By the way, just a little bit of background here. I said, hey, Fritzy, can you lie and say Steve Smith was in studio in 2006?
He did.
And he completely sold me out.
But there's no way. But with Paulie's memory, like he was going to let that
But
slide.
did you agree to lie?
Oh,
No,
God.
he did agree.
I just kind of nodded what he was showing me. I'm nodding at his piece of paper. I didn't say, yeah, I'm going to play along. And
If I wouldn't have said anything, would you have called McLovin out verbally?
No, he went out. He went at me
Because
first.
I looked at Fritzy, and Fritzy was giving me the eyes.
Yeah,
Of,
I
this eyes.
was kind of selling you out. As soon as he went to the board, I'm looking at these guys like,
Yeah.
he doesn't have anybody from the.
We've never had
studio.
anyone from the vaunted Niners defense ever. Ronnie
The
Lott.
old Niners
think
defense.
So you were going to claim Michael Strahan. We had Lott in studio once, didn't
I'm
we?
claiming Robbie Gould.
Yeah, you can
No,
claim
we've
him.
never had Rob.
Well, with my encyclopedic recall, I'm going to say that Russell Wilson was actually an in-studio guest on the Dan Patrick Show. All right?
Not true.
Not
Okay.
true. We went over that.
Don't go away. Dan Patrick has a lineup too, and he's going to give it to you. But first,
Ronnie Lott?
we're going to take a break and remind you that the Ram Heavy Duty, with its best-in-class towing, torque, and horsepower, doesn't need one, and is always a regular guest in studio. Guts, glory, Ram. We are closing up shop here on the Box Scores FanDuel Draft Day. And don't forget, that's right, you can also take on Dan and the Danettes in weekly fantasy football. Just go to FanDuel.com/Patrick and enter the promo code Patrick for a 100% deposit match up to $200 on new accounts, $5 to enter, and winners get instant cash as soon as contest ends. Now, McLovin, the boss, has been taking some pretty big chances with his lineup choices this season. Is he trying too hard to try and outsmart you guys?
Yeah, Dan's got the genius label that he's got to live up to. So he's
Trying too hard.
He's taking big swipes here. Mr. Football Night in America, Mr. Inside Info. I think he's trying to do too much.
All right, well, it's time to see what chances Dan is taking this week. It's time to reveal the boss's lineup. Let's have it.
Well, I've lowered my expectations of dominating the listener league that I have on FanDuel, so now it's just to try to dominate the other Danettes. Phillip Rivers, one of my favorites. Matt Forte, Justin Forsett, Randall Cobb, Stephon Diggs, who had the catch of the week last week. Keenan Allen, who I seem to take every week. Rodgers from the Packers. Janikowski's my kicker. The Titans, my defense. I've been a little bit too cocky in previous weeks, and I'm not going to be this week. I'm just going to say, there it is, and I hope that it's sneaky good. That's all.
Yeah, I don't know about that group. We were kind of chuckling a little bit when we were talking about is he spending too much time trying to outsmart all of us as opposed to mailing it in and giving it relatively no thought. I'd like to believe that he's spending the appropriate time while we're, at least some of us are sweating it out, trying to really figure out how to make the most of our $60,000 in our budget for our team. But I think he thinks the best way to win is to just mail it in and maybe similar to Paulie, just not overthink it and just kind of put a bunch of names on the board. And as long as it adds up to $60,000 or less, roll the dice and see what happens.
Brock, we do have some breaking FanDuel news. I'm hearing that dismissive pretty boy actor Josh Duhamel may be joining our league this week. Any updates on that?
Yeah, so I worked extensively with actor Josh Duhamel and setting a lineup. He's going one-on-one challenge with me. The stakes are TBD.
But he's in the league? Is he?
He's at Dan Patrick Show League.
He didn't really know much about it last week.
Yeah. He's at FanDuel.com/Patrick. He's in the league.
Nice.
Now, he had a problem. I'll go over this more, but he tried to put all Vikings on the team, and FanDuel has a limit of how many players from one team.
He didn't really try to do that, did he?
Yeah. By the way, the early stakes, someone on Twitter, if Josh said if he wins, he wants Dan to talk Vikings for 10 minutes in a row. If I win, I want him to put my picture up as his Twitter avatar for a month.
I am rooting very hard for you.
Yeah, that's great.
He has not agreed to said bet, and he might come in studio down the road.
That's hysterical, man.
Yeah, that guy's married to Fergie? What's going on here? All right, Seton, real quick, tell us which Danette comes out on top after week 8.
Well, man, yeah, I guess I got to take Paulie's advice. Even though he went 2 weeks, I don't know that he can go a third week. That being said, is this the week that McLovin can finally get over the hump
with
there?
a disqualification?
Oh, shut
Yeah,
up.
but now he's disqualified, so he's automatically in last. So that means it's definitely not me.
I do not accept that disqualification,
Yeah,
by
that's
the way.
fine.
Has Toddler won one yet?
I won once.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm gonna go with the toddler. I think the toddler's got it this week, pal.
coming?
It's falling to you.
As long as it's not because of James Jones.
Well, that's appropriate because he walked into the light and bumped it over. We're going to have to baby-proof the man cave.
Pretty much.
All right, it's time for me to pick which Danette I
Very
think is
well
going to come
done.
out on top. And I'm going with Seton because he went to go see my sister perform on stage a while back. So
That's
good luck
a good
to you.
reason.
That's
All
a great
right.
reason.
Yeah,
Thank you,
Fritzy.
pal.
Fritzy, tell us who's on the Dan Patrick Show tomorrow.
They've got
NBA
them
champion
flapjacks.
Harrison Barnes of the Warriors will join us, and Tony Dungy will be with us as well. Help us recap tonight's big AFC East Dolphins-Patriots game, preview the rest of Week 8, including Packers, Broncos, undefeated, battling it out in my
Dungy on tomorrow, right?
Tony Dungy.
So we got Dungy,
Harrison
huh?
Barnes.
You got them all. That's a complete list. Thanks for watching the Box Scores FanDuel Draft Show. You can watch the Danettes make their selections every Thursday right here on Audience or via podcast or on iTunes or at podcast1.com. It's a keeper.
I don't know a lot about sports, but I can drink a lot of beer.
My motto is simple. C's get degrees.
Need a long, inappropriate hug? I'm your man.
I think I'm smarter than you because I probably am.
Hey, thanks for watching the Box Score. Holy cow!